Okay, I think we're slowly waiting for people to join. So first, let's Web3 network to conduct workshop about building Web3 applications with Port3 social data layer. Yes, it's starting right now. Okay, I will leave the space for Anthony. Yeah.
Okay. Hey everyone, this is Anthony from the Port3 Networks. It's my honor to have this workshop with you in BNB Chain Zero2Hero uh, Hackathon. Zero to Hackathon, Zero to Hero Hackathon is a 6 month program that from bootcamp to incubator, and I hope you have a good time in this hackathon. And for Port3, it's a social data gateway that aggregates and standardized off-chain and on-chain data to build a social data layer that is universally accessible and powerful for other third-party Web3 use cases. And how we build an social data layer, I think this is 3 steps. First is data acquisition, and second is make data standardized, and finally we will utilize those data for Web3 use cases. And and first, we must to acquire a lot of data from off-chain and on-chain. For off-chains, we got some API and bots in different off-chain platforms, such as the social platform Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, and uh, GitHub. And for on-chain data, we got BNB chains and avalanches and polygons and others. After we acquired data from both off-chain and on-chain, we will doing a series of process for uh, first is cleaning, because we know that social data is more scattered and uh, centralized and non-standard. So we need to clean it, uh, yeah, to fill out that spams and advertisements. Then we will do the aggregations because we need to protect users' privacy. And after aggregations, that some data can be using. For example, we will aggregate it into some metrics. For example, active index that is useful for third-party applications, but it's privacy free for users. And then we will define something like threshold. Then make the thresholds and stand after we aggregate data, we define some threshold and make the tech users with soulbound token, and and then we will refine those user and data and into our social data layer, and third party can read uh, uh, re-aggregated data from our social data layer contracts directory to build their applications, such as community management and for example, smart ad jobs and targets advertisements. And so so this is what we want to build for social data layer. But before we build that, we need to bind the users' Web2 identities. For example, their wallet address and other off-chain identities. But we are different from wallet address and accounts like Lens protocols and or ENS domain because they are uh, MetaMask is more like a non uh, platform that everyone can create a new wallet without effort. Yeah. So it's difficult to capture users' true preference and behaviors. And but we don't agree. We also didn't agree that with Lens protocol that is building social data graph based on chain because it's hard to uh, get data from different platforms and chains, and so we need to get more data from the other platforms, and for ENS there are some its lack of relations data is useful for using as a name username or something, but it's part of the social network. Yeah. So this is the difference between V and uh, MetaMask and Lens or ENS. Um, for the we are similar with Chainlink and Galaxy in some dimensions because for Chainlink we know that they are an oracle for define decentralized financial. They transport data from off-chain to on-chain to support decentralized uh, uh, financial uh, running. For example, the lending protocols and others. And the Galaxy is more like on-chain credential system and aggregate on-chain achievement to to and mint NFTs for users. But he is focused on on-chain data, not include the off-chain data. So we want to make it more combine the off-chain and on-chain data to build a social data network. And the existing solution focused on on-chain and critical status data, which leads to challenges in enable data-driven operations. And Web3 and Web2 social network platforms heavily rely on data-driven feature to retain and engage users. And so we want to build a new social data layer for Web3 applications. And we think this in now is the first stage for uh, build and social data layer because we need to onboard plenty of users, for example millions of users, then we can have enough data to aggregate into standardized data source. And so we build SoQuest. And SoQuest is a quest platform that projects can launch their campaigns and airdrop their token and NFT to users. And users will earn rewards in our platforms and also build their identities. So this is our first application to come up in 2022, and now we SoQuest got 300k registered users and 400 over 400 project partners, and these partners have launched over 1,800 campaigns and got 5 million entries. And we also have bought metrics in Telegram and Discord to cover over 5,000 crypto communities and 7 million users. So we got our first first step to get enough data acquisition. Yeah. And for developers, we plan to build our Port3 networks open API and SDK for further integrations. The first part is social data layer that is still under developing because we are going to solve some problems for sharing data and protect users' privacy. That means millions of data is cleaning and aggregations in our system. And Port3 social data layer that will be a set of contracts that share aggregated data stored in different structures. And third party can read data from those contracts. You can think it's something like Oracle, but it's for a Web3 social application. And now we build SoQuest Open API for our partners. So now we got API for partners that provide a set of API that allow the third party to read campaigns, results, and user identity from SoQuest. This can be useful in many use cases, such as your community management, or foresee bots, or empty minting, or other things. And to utilize SoQuest Open API for partners, you need to generate your API key first. And we got dashboard for each project. You can generate your API key in settings. And after you got your API key, please keep it saved. And second, then you can preview the API. Once you have launched a campaign that you got some winners or candidates, you can preview the API for winners. Yeah. And then you can integrate the API with your applications. For example, you're using the API keys and request for API, then you got data from SoQuest, then you can make some judgment. For example, this user is in the right white list or not. Yeah. And we made an demo that using SoQuest Open API to build an foresee bot. This is the API for partners. You can read the candidates and their entries from campaign, which campaign and which space. And using this data, you can, for example, build for seeds only verify that he has follow Port3 networks Twitter and BNB chains Twitter, and that's more better to verify a user is human or not. Yeah. So we can make sure that this is human and he can complete the complex task in the so quest. Then so quest will turn out and win the list, and only who complete the campaigns are eligible for those foresee or jobs. Yeah. So, for example, this is foresee bot. I passed my address because I didn't finish the campaign. So the bots tell me to complete the campaign first. But after I finished campaign, it will send out for seeds. Yeah, we have um, we have source code in our Port3 network GitHub repository. Yeah, and we also got Soban token badge systems, and we also open source for our contracts. Yeah, by using SoQuest you can issue various Soban token to users for different level. For example, the onboard level for followers, holders, or OG. Yeah. So you just focused on users' identity. Don't need to care about creating Soban token. How to create Soban token. So this is useful for building a member system that rank users into different levels, and we have create a repositories on our GitHub. And finally, I think we have some topics that we can develop, we can build in this hackathon. For example, enable users to have on-chain updatable identity via Soban token, because Soban this is interesting because Soban token you can't remove the Soban token, but you can update the Soban token state. Yeah. And second, you can explore ways to implement privacy preserve data sharing in smart contracts. Yeah. And or creating bots that using Port3 data to managing your DAOs, or doing some jobs just like the demo does, just like the demo did. Yeah, and we got we got REST D&E topics. Yeah, innovate application scenario based on NFT. For example, combine different NFT to one NFT. Yeah, that makes NFT useful instead to just a batch that released that issued to users. Yeah, and there are many topics, and we can provide some developing helps for our hacks. And so finally, do you have any questions about Port3 networks and SoQuest? Yeah, I think. Okay, if you have any questions about Port3 networks and our social data layer or our SoQuest API API for partners, you can tag me in the Inco Club Discord. Yeah, and to build an social data layer is difficult, and we are going to do the first. We are still in the first stage to acquire massive adoptions. Yeah, I think, for example, millions of users uh, is it's reasonable for uh, to build more useful social data. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Anthony, I think there's a question for you. I think Mystic Genius asking how to get access to SoulQuest API.
Okay. To access SoulQuest API is very easy. You just go to dashboard SoulQuest. Yeah, then you can generate your API keys in settings. We are free for all projects and users.
Yeah, I think it's clear. I think all the information are in our Notion page and also in our like Hackathon Discord channel. So if you have more questions for Anthony, you can join the Discord channel. Yeah. Are there more questions for Anthony and for Port3 or so for SoulQuest? If no, then thank you, Anthony. Thank you. Hope for more people will build for Quest 3 or so on BNB chain. Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello, Henry. How are you?
Hi, good. You?
I'm good. Yeah. Hi guys. Let's welcome Henry from RSS3 to conduct workshop about cutting through the AI hype, like Web3 data and beyond. Henry, can you share your screen or like upload your
Yeah,
slides?
sure. Yeah, sure. Coming up now. Can you guys see it? Yeah, can
Yep.
you guys
All
actually
good.
see it? Yeah. Okay, good, perfect. So, hi everyone. Yeah, welcome to this workshop, and I'm from RSS3, and today I'm just gonna talk about how our API RSS3 API can help you, build in this from zero to hero campaign. And at RSS3, we believe simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So our API actually consists of only one endpoint. And yeah, let's get started. Yeah, so since we only have one endpoint, it's basically too simple to use. I'm not gonna spend 30 minutes showing you guys how to make HTTP requests. Instead, let's talk about data, of course, within the context of AI. So first, the Web3 data is very complex. I think everybody knows that. In its life cycle, there are so many we have multiple public blockchains, as everyone knows, and new ones are being created as we speak here. And there are so-called non-blockchain networks like Fakastra and Nostr. And there are also decentralized storage like Airwave and BNB Greenfield. So next, they have inconsistent data structure. So taking Lens, the social dApp on Polygon as an example, it has 5 major data types. And based on those types, many structures were derived from them, designed by different dApps such as Lenster and LensTube. Uh, and then you have other platforms such as Miro, Caster. They all use completely different data sources and data structures. So this makes it very difficult for developers to come up with applications that you know that's plugging new data sources every day. So then coming up next is acquiring data is a very complicated business. At RSS3, we have spent over 2 years you only have 3 different ways to acquire data from decentralized networks. First one is via official APIs. They are pretty much free, low cost, and they always have so-called requests per second limit. And there is a centralization risk, of course. The second way is everybody knows Alchemy risk as well. And lastly, you have in-house infrastructure, and it's likely very, very unaffordable for missing an on here unaffordable for individual developers. And most networks, they somehow store their metadata in a centralized way, because such as Lens, although the main content is now although the transaction took place on Polygon, but they actually store data on Rwave or IPFS. And if you click the like button or love button, the heart shape button, it's actually stored centrally on their server. So you have to get those data via their APIs. And some so-called decentralized networks, they are actually extremely difficult, in terms of like accessing their data. Yeah, I'm just gonna not gonna name and shame them here. And coming up, we have more problems. There is no so-called data standardization in Web3. As I mentioned previously, everybody uses different data structure. So what happens to builders and developers is that they spend a lot of time and effort to just plug in data from different data sources. So at RSS3, we follow the doctrine of information dissemination for the open web. So what does that mean? Basically, all the major information distribution method, including directory, search, subscription, and some algos, and they are basically all channels for information to be distributed to the right place. And now somehow the game becomes more complicated because now we are talking about AI. However, artificial intelligence, or in today's world, everybody think GPT stands for AI, but that's not the case. But let's take GPT as an example. GPT is actually not as intelligent as you might think they are, because its knowledge is bounded by the scope of data they can access. So ChatGPT or the models behind it, GPT 3.5 or 4, it's very unlikely they have enough data on Web3. Okay, before we dig further, let's talk about Web3 data. So we at RSS3, we define Web3 data as, those 4 types. It's either stored directly or stored centrally as a complement, or is stored centrally but highly relevant to the operation of our Web3 world. And lastly is basically, improved functionality and user experience, such as the like features of some social dApps. And we at RSS3 provided this unified metadata schemas. So basically, we standardize everything. We basically labeled and tagged every transaction from major decentralized networks, and we somehow managed to convert them into a structured way that AI models can understand. Or in this case, GPT models, any large language models, they will be able to understand the meaning of the data, the meaning of the transaction you're doing on, let's say, Polygon or Binance. So what does AI plus Web3 mean? So Web3, of course, it generates a lot of permissionless data. So you can openly acquire the data from those networks in most of cases. And as I mentioned before, AI models, especially large language models, their knowledge boundary is basically limited by the scope of data available for training. And Web3 native pattern recognition, insight extraction, and trend prediction are the features we think we can add it on top of like current GPT's capability, because we have the structured data in so-called machine understandable in a large language model understandable format. So we can easily extend the capability of any large language model by feeding the Web3 standardized data into it. So this is a perfect match for our RSS3 and AI, because we at RSS3, we actually indexed a lot of decentralized data, and as I mentioned, they are ready to be trained by, ready to be fed into any AI models. And because of we did the data standardization, and we are actually able to make the training process really smooth. And we are planning to release so-called RSS3 AI open platform, which allow everyone, developers, to utilize the Web3 data to train their own models. And here's a waiting list. You can basically sign up here, RSS3.ai. And based on our internal tests, we are able to actually extend the power, the capability of any GPT, the OpenAI GPT models with NFT trend fortune teller, and investment trend forecaster, and so on and so forth. So the limit is actually, the sky is your limit. And since we believe in efficient, inclusive, and progressive, and we think the open platform is the beginning of the infusion of AI plus Web3. So finally, now I'm just circling back to the original topic, RSS3 API. So what does it do? And I'm going to teach you how to make HTTP requests now. We have very comprehensive documents available here. After this workshop, this presentation, I'm going to share this Gamma doc in the chat. So we cover 13 major blockchains, and this number is outdated. It's over 100 dApps. So, and we cover trending decentralized networks, and we cover high quality decentralized content, such as blocks conforming to EIP 1577. And lastly, we cover governance and donation data from Snapshot and Gitcoin. And UMS, we talked about this. So what does it actually do? Providing any wallet, any EVM wallet address, you are able to get, I think it's going to load up. So I think the link, sorry, my internet seems to be a bit slow today. Why is it not? Oh, something's wrong with Gamma today. Oh. No, I think it's Gamma. So I'm going to share another tab here. Present, stop sharing. So, yep. Can you guys see the screen? I think no. Can you guys actually see the screen?
I can push it to stream, but I'm not so sure whether this is the screen that you try to share.
So here is the screen, the documentation. Yeah. So by providing any EVM address or even ENS handles or like handles from Space ID or Unstoppable domains, you are able to query the
But Harry,
entire. Yep.
sorry, Harry.
Sorry.
I'm not so sure whether I'm the only one, but I can only see the conversation box. Yeah, I don't think it's the right.
Let me try it again.
Yes, please.
How about now?
Yep.
Is this working?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Brilliant. So yeah, so you get just by putting any address, or let's try Vitalik though is. So you're able to get everything Vitalik has said on platforms such as Forecaster, which is not on blockchain, and he's pretty active on Forecaster these days. And yeah, this is all Forecaster posts. Wow, this guy talks a lot. Yeah, finally, he's making an EVM transaction. Oh, it's a simple transfer. Oh, he's making a multi-sig transaction. He signed a wallet on Genesis Safe. And basically everything is being translated into this standardized format. We call it unified metadata schema. And dApp developers can easily plug this data source into their project to instantly get a feed that covers all the major blockchains. And similarly, second one, you can also request data, send a batch request data to include a list of addresses. Yeah, so this is just another post request. I think everyone here knows how to do it. So I'm gonna stop sharing this and go back to my Gamma. Yeah, so we pretty much just went through 2 requests, and based on RSS3 API, just 2 endpoints actually, not one, but we are able to actually build a search engine on top of that, and we also added GPT 3.5, and we fine-tuned the GPT model to include all the data we have here. I believe it's over 350 million or something. We have this Hood GPT. Basically, it's able to answer a lot of Web3 related questions, in which you can't actually get the right answer by using ChatGPT. So we believe our API provides endless possibilities for everyone, for the developers here. I hope that some of you can leverage our API to shape your hackathon ideas. And I guess that's it from me. And we have a dedicated developer support channel. You can basically join via this link, and the website is here. And I will share the Gamma link now in the chat.
Hey Henry, I think you can share the Gamma link in the Hackathon Discord channel, so more hackers.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Sure. Definitely, yeah. And,
sure.
I think. Yeah. So, are we entering this Q&A session or?
Yeah. Guys, do you have any questions for RS3 and also Henry for further AI related innovation? I will take it as no, but if I receive any questions related to RS3, I will pass to you, Henry. Thank you for your time and this quick workshop. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Atlas. If you have PowerPoint, you can click on present button and upload now.
Okay, let me try. Maybe I think can I share the screen now? I'm not sure where to send. One moment. Okay, I think I have uploaded. Okay. Can you see my slides now?
Yeah, we can see your slide. You can get started as you want.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Here's Atlas from the Crossbell, and it will be a really honor to join this BNB Zero2Hero Hackathon. And today I will hold this workshop to help you understand more about Crossbell and more about this hackathon. My schedule will roughly be like that: first 7 minutes on what is Crossbell and why you developers should choose Crossbell as your platform. Then around maybe 15 minutes on the possible ideas you could build on the Crossbell in this hackathon, and also some useful development resources that may help. So finally, a quick introduction to the bounty provided by the Crossbell and the QA section. So let's start it from what is Crossbell. Crossbell is a social ownership platform on which many social applications can be built on. And at its core, it's a social and ownership protocol. And also to assist in the developers to build more apps, we also provide a variety of useful toolkits for the different scenarios could be achieved. And the toolkits is in JavaScript, means some SDK and also some that is some JavaScript libraries and also some UI UX components in React. Also, we provide a Next.js based website template to help you start your app. I will, if I have time, I will demonstrate that template later on. And let's firstly have a quick look at our protocol. And yeah, so at the very bottom, we have our own chain. It's an EVM compatible chain. And I think I don't need to say so much. Everyone here already realizes that the current Web2 is using us. So we need to take back our data ownership. And the blockchain exactly offers that exciting power to help us really own our data. And with blockchain, we can own our data not only because we hold the private key, but also because we can easily convert our data to the asset, and then we can buy or sell these assets at the free will. Then, based on that blockchain, we designed a set of smart contracts. We observe the real social scenarios and abstract some core elements and make it in our contracts. In other words, these contracts are aimed at simulating all the social rules in this real world. Like we defined the character, note, and link, and mint in our contracts. We believe all social scenarios can be described using these basic elements. For instance, like Alice follows Bob is that Alice links Bob with a link tab called follow. And Alice posts a note like, today is my birthday, and Bob comments, happy birthday. In this case, they both post a note, and Bob's note has a link with Alice's original note, and that link tab is a comment. Also, you may wonder, like, how about thumbs up? Yeah, thumbs up is also a link from the character to a note, right? And we have a app called Xfeed here. Wait. Maybe I can I share my screen? Well, I'm not sure, but you guys can open the xfeed.app to the website to see that there are characters and there are nodes. You can do any interactions like thumbs up and comment, just like Twitter and just like what I described before. And the very interesting thing is that we can mint. So what about mint? Mint is actually convert a node to an NFT. That is a special part in Web3, not in Web2, because here using mint, we are capitalizing a node. Mint is useful in many cases. Let me give you some examples. Say you wrote an article and you only want the people who have minted to be able to repost it, right? So you set a mint fee for it. Or maybe you only want the first 10 people mint your notes so that you can identify who your true fans are. So you get the idea of the mint, right? You can use the mint to do anything. And the interesting is from the mint modules. That's why it has such the flexibility. Like what I just said, like mint fee module and the quantity restrictions, all are handled by the mint modules. So mint module is basically the rules that the node owner set for how his or her node can be minted based on some rules like quantity, time, address, amount, and so on. So I just talk a little bit about the social interactions, but there's one more thing, tip. Tipping is also a really important concept to know about in Crossbell and maybe in Web3, because that's the foundation of the economic circulation. Like if you like some article, some character, you may want to tip them. And we have an ERC20 token called Mirror. It's used specifically for the tip. So I believe if you want to build some apps with creator economy, tip method would be useful. And we have the SDKs supporting tip. And if you have browsed the X feed, you may notice that tip is also in the tip has also built in that app. But honestly, I feel tip has more possibilities. That's not only for the Crossbell ecosystem. You can tip anyone as long as you have their wallet address right. You can use cheap and even free gas to tip. Why not? So I believe you can explore more interesting thing about such economic circulation or creator economy in this hackathon. So I just introduced a lot about how contracts and protocols are designed, but it can still be tedious to understand all the interfaces and the design details of our contract, especially if you only want to build a simple post-note style social media, right? So don't worry, we value the developer experience very much. So based on the contract, we have also encapsulated an SDK in JavaScript. And that SDK on one hand can help you write the contracts very easy. Like originally, you need to upload the metadata to the IPFS first and then retrieve the link and then interact with the contract. But now you can only use that SDK in very few lines. And it's really convenient. On the other hand, reading data can be more easy. We provide an indexer service, and the SDK also encapsulates the service of reading index. So, for example, if you want to read the feed of all the characters you follow, and you only need a simple line such as that. And not only SDK, we also provide a lot of UI components encapsulation, such as connecting wallet buttons, minting characters, and so on. So in short, in addition to the protocol, our platform also provides the rich developer-friendly tools to help you quickly build. And these development tools are highly encapsulated so that you may even not need to understand how our protocol design. But absolutely, it depends on the social scene you want to explore. The more complex scenarios you want to design, the more you need to understand the underlying protocol design. So basically, in this hackathon, you are encouraged to use these SDKs to interact with the underlying contract so that you could solve some real social problems. And now you may ask, why should I build on the Crossbell? Honestly, I have to say the first reason is that it's cheap. For example, you see why currently the development based on ChatGPT is so popular. I believe one reason is that if a person starts from the zero, it takes a lot of money and energy to train a good natural language precise model. But now you can get a very good experience by spending very little money. That cannot be imagined before. And Crossbell is similar. If you use the Web2 method before, you need to spend money to buy servers, buy databases, or even to say you are Web3 and you use Polygon. Still, you need to pay a lot of gas fees for your users. And even the more users, the more you pay. That's not reasonable, right? But on Crossbell, you don't need to spend money. Free gas can be acquired from the faucet. And also our team will support you if you need more if necessary. You don't need to buy database services, and you don't need to worry about the increasing number of users causing you to bear more cost of operation or maintenance. We got you covered. You are encouraged to try your ideas, and we can explore the more reasonable value circulation together. That is the magic that blockchain and the Web3 gives us, I believe. Additionally, we have very friendly community support where you can discuss any issues you encounter with our developer team on Discord, like the image I put here. Okay, so now you may be thinking, what exactly could I build? The answer is anything about social and ownership. I could try to give some prompts here, but that's not the answer for this hackathon. I hope you can bring more interesting ideas. So firstly, application will be the straightforward ideas. For instance, it can be any social app, and you just store the social relationships between your users on Crossbell so that you could decentralize the social graph of your app. Whether you are starting from zero or already have a Web2 style app and you want to migrate that social graph to the blockchain, we all have the solutions available. Another way is that you might be more radical and want to create a total decentralized social media where all published content is on-chain, sort of a Web3 Instagram, Web3 Reddit, or maybe a paid knowledge content publishing system. That's all interesting, right? And furthermore, I think reputation is also a good way to start. Like we often see that blockchain smart contracts can enable the trust between the strangers. But how? How is that trust established? That it's because of the reputation, right? So whether if you are receiving a lot of recommendations from your friends on chain, or you actively tip many other characters, many other articles, or having many of your fans paid to mint your NFTs. There are many ways to measure a character's reputation. So if there's a more reasonable reputation system, it could be very meaningful for all the social scenarios. And beyond the typical social scenarios, I think there are more finance-related possibilities like creator economy. I just talked a little bit before, and also customer e-commerce is a good way to do that. Yeah, it's totally possible to build a marketplace on Crossbell. And for the format of the, like, how to say that, maybe genre of your app or your project, honestly, I believe it's not limited to a typical app, I believe. A native app is cool, like a website, mobile app, absolutely. But I bet you can also work on some so-called add-on, like a browser extension. I can give you an example. An extension to archive a website and upload it to Crossbell, or an extension to comment to any URL, etc. Also, the bots are exciting ideas, like a Discord bot to send a birthday card to your friends. And I think Telegram bots are also really good to build on. Besides the Temper Monkey scripts, the Even the Obsidian plugins are all interesting, exciting. There are lots of things to explore. That's the composability, right? I believe that's one of the most charming parts in Web3. And of course, we are not limited only in so-called products. We can also explore more on the protocol itself. For example, on-chain social recovery is useful. If you lost your private key, you could ask some of your on-chain friends to help you transfer your character to your new wallet address. Besides, sometimes you may feel using private key to operate your character is not secure. Like you want to use some universal second factor login method, like YubiKey, right? So you want to use YubiKey to sign each transaction rather than using the MetaMask extension in Chrome in Firefox. Well, the computation becomes more complicated, but the gas is cheap and even free on Crossbell. So that's not a big concern. It's a really good way to explore that on Crossbell. But again, these are just prompts, not the answer of a test. We hope you could bring more surprise to Crossbell. But just one more thing to mention here. If you are working on protocol, it would be more likely you may involve with contracts. And currently, only the whitelist developers are allowed to deploy contracts on Crossbell. That's how we make sure the gas fees can be cheap and even free. So if you have any protocol-related idea, you could firstly develop on your local machine and open an issue in our GitHub repository. Yeah, our contract code are all open sourced. And in GitHub, then we can build together. Or you could definitely talk about your ideas to our Discord or just direct message me. And anyway, whatever ideas you have, whatever is related to website, Telegram bot, marketplace, or contract, whatever, feel free to message me so we can schedule a talk to see how to build together. So tax is cheap, show me your code, right? Now it's time to build. Though I have talked a lot of ideas, but if you still do not have the ideas, what could be built, you can first hang out some of our official apps to get inspired. Xfeed, Xlog, Xsync, and Xcharacters are all good starts. And if you are already feel ready to start building, you cannot miss the Crossbell document. It includes everything you need, including the protocol introductions, contract specifications, SDK usage, and the React UI UX keys. Yeah, but I'm sorry for that. Honestly, the document is still on construction since we are still at a rapid developing pace, and sometimes we are not able to pay enough attention to the documents. So I strongly recommend you to join the Discord so we can talk with the developers for any of the difficulties you face or any confusions directly. Also, don't forget, if you need more CSVs, then you could acquire from the faucet, or you need more Mira to start some exploration on creator economy ideas, you could fill this form for the application. I think I do not have enough time, so I will not show that demo. yeah, so you can go this. I have put the link here, so you guys can go to this website and follow the guide here. Yeah, there are many projects building based on Crossbell. This guy is asking. So currently we have the xfeed, xlog, xsync, xchar here. You can do the you can explore. That's sort of the official, not official, but the main ecosystem applications. And also we have a awesome projects page. I will put that link in the chat box later. And now let's go to the interesting bounty introduction part. And the first place winner will receive a prize of 3,000 USDT, and there will be two winners for the second place, and each one is 1,000 USDT. The third place is 500 USDT, and there are three third winners. So what we evaluate is the social problems you solved and how you efficiently use the Crossbell or BNB chain, and how many users or what range what boundaries of users you can reach out. Finally, how do you demonstrate the Web3 compatibility in your applications? And the submission requirement is a project description, a pitch deck, and a demo video, and your code, definitely. And finally, the team introduction. And yeah, so you can know more details in this Notion page. So finally, I think that's all about my workshop. If you have any questions, you can ask now.
Hey, I guess there are no more questions for Alice. Thank you, Alice, for your time today. If they have more questions, they can ask you in the Discord, Hackathon Discord channel. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you. So next one, we will welcome Luke from Web3MQ. Yeah. Hello, Luke. How are you?
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yep, clear and sound.
Gotcha.
Can you try to share your
Good.
screen?
I'm in Asia right now, so good time. 1:30, but yeah, it's all good. Yeah, cool. Let me all right, let me see if this works. Oh, yes, I can. Can you guys see my screen right now? Gotcha. All right. Seems like it's working.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Awesome then. Yeah. Doing a quick intro about Web3MQ today. So essentially, what Web3MQ is that in its technical core, for those who are developers in the audience, we are actually a federated messaging middleware network. But of course, even if you are a developer, you may or may not know what a messaging middleware software is generally used for. So speaking from the more of the problem space and problem side, what we solve is essentially our team. We're thinking about, well, okay, if there's this next wave to crypto, right? What would it be, and what would the underserved and really needed areas be that were being built yet? And it turns out that right, if we want a next wave with more normal users, so-called next billion users narrative, it's really important to have better interaction, because generally these users aren't going to be more sophisticated DeFi users, right? The thing about what is that the interaction model is very siloed, very broken. So a lot of times, the only agent you could interact with in Web3 is the public chain. And initially, that was somewhat by design. But there's huge problems because the public chain, it's very consistent and very secure, but it's also very slow and very not scalable. So in today's Web3, wallets can't talk with dApps, and wallets can't talk with wallets either, other wallets. Wallets can only talk with the public chain in terms of signatures and RPC calls, and then dApps can only talk to public chains in terms of smart contracts and RPC calls and whatnot. And what that brings today, what that kind of pushes the whole industry towards, is that we have these pretty absurd pain points. Like, say, if you're ever playing a game, imagine there's this really good example, I guess, of, imagine if you're trying to play something like Sonic, right? Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm pretty sure most people know this game, right? You're running around and you're collecting all these gold medals and whatnot while you're running around. There's like a gold medal every like 0.2 seconds in Sonic, right? If this was on chain, all of these gold medals that you earn would have to be signed today, right? So imagine you're playing Sonic, and then every 0.2 seconds, you have to, there's a new MetaMask window and you have to sign it, giving the permission for that contract to mint a new token of some sort towards your wallet. That's not a great experience for a game, right? And then, of course, there's a smaller pain point as to which, if you're on a mobile wallet and then a browser dApp, it's really hard to sign across these things because your wallet is essentially a key pair that can't really talk to the dApp today. And so you have to find some kind of an infrastructure to connect that. And then also, of course, the lack of wallet-to-wallet interaction also means that, well, you just can't natively socialize with other Web3 users, right? Actually, a funny story, we don't own Web3MQ.ETH. I don't know who took it, but somebody front ran us, and we'd gladly pay some to buy that name. But it turns out that it's just really hard to get in touch with that person that's bought Web3MQ.ETH. And so all of these things basically coming down to this lack of interaction infrastructure. And essentially what we're doing is to use messaging as a bridge to make sure that wallets can interact with dApps and wallets can interact with wallets. And so having this unified interaction infrastructure for Web3. And the way messaging works on Web3MQ is that the core model is something called publish-subscribe messaging, or pub-sub messaging. Of course, we do something more classic called point-to-point messaging too, which is where, okay, I have address A and I want to message address B. This is more called point-to-point messaging. But what's more popular and more important generally in messaging infrastructure, all the way up until Web 2, was the publish-subscribe model of messaging. This is essentially where you have these abstract units called topics, and publishers with authorization can publish to these topics, and all of the subscribers to this topic have to receive the updates from the topic. So you could think of it more of a kind of a teacher handing out homework model, right? Instead of the traditional message queue model where anybody can take a certain task or ticket from the queue, and that object will be dequeued. But instead, in this model, it's more of a broadcast messaging model where really every subscriber has to get the message or task or ticket. And this is really, really essential in the world of interaction in Web2, because think about one core service, which is Twitter, right? And how Twitter works. Basically, you follow a bunch of influencers. Those are actually basically just their feeds and topics. And once you follow them, whenever they publish a new tweet, you get notifications and feed pushes that, okay, that person has made something new, a new tweet, right? Say Elon Musk. So essentially, Twitter is just one huge pub sub messaging service. And this is why it's super, super core and super, super important. So this is essentially the key service that we run underneath Web3MQ. And yeah, some quick examples of how you can build interaction bridges with Web3MQ. So one would be, say, I wanted wallets to connect with each other. Well, you could route those signature requests via this PubSub messaging queue. And so once these dApps and wallets are listening on the other end, they can capture that event or request and then send over the signatures back to the wallets. So that's how this can work. And then there's also actually another more interesting way of how we can enable Web3 interactions today, which is we also do something called smart contract interactions too via Web3MQ. So there's this pain point today where contracts actually can't interact with each other either. So contracts both, if you recall, contracts both, contract A and contract B, they all belong to the public chain. But the problem is you actually can't listen to another contract today. It's just not possible. You can take like contract code from another contract and try to run that inside your contract. But if you want to rely on the state of another contract, it's actually not possible today in Web3, at least in Ethereum. And so you could do this via Web3MQ. So basically what happens is you use our ERC-like components from contract A to emit events and publish those events to Web3MQ PubSub messaging topics. And since Web3MQ is more of an L2/L3 sitting on top of these normal blockchains, we have these sequencer nodes that can commit contracts and be able to actively trigger contract actions. And so they can basically what they can do is put these contracts that you would want to compose, say contract B, and then to awaken that contract via more of a account abstraction entry point contract style kind of a usage. And so that's how you can build this contract B, where you're listening to, say, some Uniswap event. And then if something happens in Uniswap, then you want contract B to be able to react natively and fast in this Web3 native and trustless way. So that's an example of how Web3MQ can enable interactions amongst smart contracts. And yeah, so it's kind of two pretty technical, but I wanted to give those first just because so people can get an idea of why messaging is the backbone of infrastructure today. Interaction infrastructure today, and why we think using broad messaging infrastructure, we can solve interaction problems in Web3. And yeah, so generally, I mentioned earlier, we sit on top of other public chains, either as an L3 or L2. That's because we don't handle assets we're decentralized and federated just like Ethereum, in the sense that anybody can join and then run a Web3MQ node. So just like Ethereum, you can download, say, Geth on your laptop and run a Ethereum full node yourself and grow the network. You can do that with Web3MQ too. And essentially, so Web3MQ today, what we're focusing is more of what we would call the network layer. So we built that network, think of Ethereum. And we do have default implementations of connection clients, somewhat like, say, Geth in Ethereum, or you could think of other clients and what. Landscape today, what it looks like. The biggest key is Web3MQ from other communication infrastructures that, one, we're super high performance, and two, we're actually trustless and decentralized. So if you want something that's actually trustless, meaning you don't have to eat on the infrastructure network, then outside of Web3MQ, there's really scalable. So even like say wallet connector building on top of it. A few months ago, we thought this was not a great way to move forward, because Waku fundamentally had a very naive model of transmitting messages. Putting it in a really easy way, basically it sends messages randomly to other nodes, like say 4 to 5 other nodes. And then those 4 to 5 other nodes would then send messages randomly to 4 to 5 other nodes, which works, right?
Luke,
but
sorry.
it's easy to imagine that the network gets flooded very quickly. So we've innovated on that naive model and achieved about 30x scalability boost the network broadband consumption. Open sourced infrastructure protocols like, say, Matrix and whatnot. And then, of course, there's a family today called they would call themselves communication infrastructure, but the reality is that they're like Web2 cloud AI that just store Web3 addresses, and both notify and push and whatnot would fall into this family and category. And yeah, this is like a quick comparison because we use WebSocket connections, and also due to the more high performance nature of our network, we really do a lot better in terms of latency and response time than both Waku and Matrix, which are respectively, outside of us, the best open source communication protocols in Web 2 and Web 3. So yeah. And yeah, so that kind of wraps up the initial introduction about Web3MQ. And then I guess from here on, I'm going to do a quick series of intros around kind of how Web3MQ works. And then some use cases in terms of hackathons. So the first thing that's kind of a big barrier to using Web3MQ, at least today, is that you got to learn how the account works. That's something that is slightly more complicated than the pure key system of Ethereum or Bitcoin. And that's because generally already the industry today is shifting towards abstract accounts because with one key pair in normal wallets, it's a huge pain for a lot of users. But with messaging and communications protocols, that problem is actually doubled because there's another key pair. You need to be able to encrypt your messages, because if you wanted to send messages across, random and trustless networks, then, well, obviously you don't want your messages to be read by anybody, right? And so in that sense, you want your 2 key pairs, but you also would hope that, okay, if these are client side, then I wouldn't want to remember seed phrases to generate these keys. And then also, but at the same time, you will want these keys to be able to be synced over multiple clients, right? And then also you will want things like recoverability and the ability to reset if you lose your key or somebody your key gets exposed. So Web3MQ, from the get-go, we've designed it. We've actually rewritten our account system twice to achieve this, but we are an abstract account from day one. And we do have 3 sets of keys. So aside from the encryption key and access keys, there's the wallet key that obviously the user has themselves. And that gives right to encryption keys and key. Key allows people to do session signing, essentially. And so
I think there is some connection issue with Luke. Let's wait for a short while to let him reconnect. Meanwhile, if you have any questions regarding Web3MQ, feel free to post in the chat box. Yep, thank you.
You guys. My back.
Hello,
Hello.
welcome back. Yeah, I think we lost you for around 5 minutes.
All right. I think people can see me again. This
Yeah,
is
I can see you
one of the
now.
perks of being in China, I guess.
Yeah, mainland.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, one of the perks of being in China. Yeah. Yeah, I guess just the VPN, you could think of the case where see, right? Versus and experience on top of it. So allowing, some to talk those NFT collections together, and then also, coordinate trades and whatnot within a similar group, the same group. And then, of course, you can always, DM people, which is also a huge pain point nowadays with NFT marketplaces. So yeah, that's also another example. And then, of course, last example is more of this, public following experience. So we would call this more of, I guess that's to be essentially the greatest example, most obvious example here is Twitter. So Twitter itself is a notify follow feed, right? So you would follow people, influencers that you like, and then wait for activities and updates to it. Examples that I can think of are like, imagine, so in Web3, follow like the top developers and not only like their tweets and posts, but imagine if you could follow the GitHub of, say, Linus Torvalds, right, the creator of Linux, or the GitHub of, say, one of the core developers of Ethereum, maybe like, say, Drawer, who's doing 4337 right now, account abstraction. So every time, these people, oops, am I still around? Just to make sure. All right. So every time these people, make commits to their GitHub or make updates to their GitHub, that means you could receive notifications and updates, right, as an application, and that builds a social experience around both information and then community. So yeah, because whatnot, and this could be for GitHub updates, posts, or Instagram style pictures, or TikTok style videos, or it could also be trades, right? Which is still what Web3 is based on today. So yeah, it's, that's generally it for the use cases today. And yeah, love to take a few questions if if anybody wants to ask and whatnot.
Hello, guys. Do you have any questions for Luke regarding Web3MQ? I know it's super late in Asia time right now. Thanks, Luke. So guys, if you have more questions regarding Web3MQ and their bounties, and also about this hackathon, feel free to join the hackathon Discord. So I think Luke is in the channel also to take your questions. Yeah. Thank you, Luke. I think we're fine now. Thanks.